We're going to be checking out some super clean and minimal setups on today's episode, so sit back and relax and let the setup wars begin. Wouldn't it be cool to always have access to anything you need 24/7 wherever you are? Well, with today's sponsor, Pulseway, you can do that. Pulseway is an IT monitoring and management platform built with a mobile-first design. You can monitor systems in real time, automate repetitive IT tasks, and patch systems remotely from your Android or iOS device. Experience the full power of Pulseway by starting a no-commitment free trial by using my link down below. Kicking off the episode is Connor and his very clean and minimal ultra-wide gaming setup. What you're looking at is actually a 3D render of his setup. His actual setup looks pretty damn identical, with the exception of the acoustic panels that were swapped out with a custom laser cut mountain design on the wall. Everything else in the setup is spot on, and I'm absolutely loving the vibes. It's crazy to think that this setup belongs to a 16-year-old. You usually see a bunch of RGB and anime posters, but this one has a very mature atmosphere. We got a massive 96-inch Carly countertop with 2 Alex units for storage and support. I just love how he stayed very consistent with the warm tones and industrial theme with the steampunk lamps. For peripherals, he's rocking a Razer Huntsman TKL with an Iron Claw mouse, and for audio, he's got a set of Audio Engine A2 Plus speakers, tilted beautifully towards him, and a dedicated mic for input. It definitely looks like Connor knows what he's doing here. Cables beautifully managed underneath the desk with some raceways leading up into the back of his custom PC that's equipped with a Ryzen 7 2700 and an RTX 2070 Super. Such a clean setup. It's aesthetically pleasing, straight to the point. I love it. Nicely done, Connor. This next setup has quite the transformation and change of scenery compared to his last one back in July of 2020. I'm pretty sure most of us remember this setup because of that amazing view sandwiched by 2 ceiling-high glass walls. Definitely a massive change in scenario, no doubt, but the setup itself got a nice makeover since last time. The big change being that he finally built his first gaming PC with the help of the channel, and it's got a freaking monitor modded into it along with a few other mods which we will get into later. But first, the desk setup. He's rocking dual monitors with a 4K 28-inch as the main and a 24-inch in vertical for multitasking and browsing. Both are hooked up to a sit and stand desk from Uno. Notice he's using a soundbar instead of 2 pairs of speakers. This way he's able to just keep it underneath the main monitor and not have an awkward speaker placement or an awkward gap between the monitors due to the vertical display. This is actually the most aesthetically pleasing approach if you want to use speakers with a T monitor layout. He kept the surface very clean and minimal with just a wireless keyboard and mouse, while everything else is attached underneath the desk. We got the audio deck for his headset, and even the PS5 is under here. I like that even though he had the space to keep them on the desk, he still decided to mount them underneath to just further contribute to the minimal theme he was going for. Cable management is very impressive. Despite being a sit and stand desk, he did an excellent job here. He used what's called a vertebrae cable kit to wrap the cables coming out of the sub. That way they extend and retract with the desk, and the rest of the cables are passed through a built-in cable rack underneath the desk through a little cutout and into the back of his PC, which is the most interesting thing about this setup for me. There are actually a few really cool mods done to this PC that I want to go over real quick, starting with the 14-inch display in the front. It's actually a portable touchscreen monitor from Wimaxit, and I'll link it below for anyone interested in doing the same mod in their O11 Mini. You just need to buy an angled HDMI adapter to feed the monitor to the back of your GPU. He also modded the case so it's able to fit in a full ATX motherboard and a 360mm AIO on the top. In fact, I'll drop a link to the Poet's video where he shows how he did both mods if anyone is interested. As far as aesthetics go, I think the wall looks very bare. You might not have glass windows anymore, but you can still come up with some really nice ways to add a bit of decoration. But with that said, I think the setup was still an upgrade overall from your last submission. Thanks for coming back on the show. Up next, we have an industrial mechanic from Germany. This is Raphael's gaming and video editing setup that took about 1 year to complete. Looks like the setup was built in his attic, judging by the angled ceiling, unless bedrooms like this are common in Germany. We got a custom-made corner desk with vinyl wrapping and a custom wall with those 3D art panels. But looking at it from an angle, you can see that he used a few metal brackets to add spacing between them in order to hide all his cables behind it and also to add an RGB strip for some ambient lighting. The secondary setup is more of a workstation with a 2-in-1 laptop and a wireless keyboard, while the main setup has a 40-inch ultrawide with a 27-inch in vertical mode. Below that, we got the DK61E keyboard paired with a Razer Viper Ultimate with clean cable routing across the desk using a few cable clips. It doesn't look like the setup uses any speakers, but he does have a Corsair HS80 headset and a dedicated mic that's tucked behind the ultrawide. The PC powering it all is a beautiful white-themed custom build inside the Corsair 4000D. We got the 10700KF and an RX 5600X that's been painted in white. Very nice mod and a very nice setup. Thank you to Rafael for sharing this with us. His next setup is definitely pushing the boundaries of minimalism, considering he's rocking triple displays, but the setup still looks very clean, so I'll make the exception. So this is William's setup, and he built it for gaming, content creation, and editing. And it took him about 3 years to complete, which means he started his setup journey when he was just 10 years old, considering he is 13 now. I'm not gonna lie, for a 13-year-old, this is pretty damn impressive. Most people might think it's overkill, but I don't think so, especially considering he uses the setup for more than just gaming. I do like the monitor layout though. We have a 32-inch 165Hz as the primary, a 24-inch up top as an overhead, and a third one pushed off to the side for multitasking and monitoring. I don't know what it is with minimalistic setups and not having a mouse pad, but I've noticed it's a trend for some reason. Same with the speakers. Most minimal setups don't use any, just a pair of headphones, or in William's case, Astro A50s that he swaps between his PC and Xbox. William, if you're watching this video and you're really serious about becoming a content creator or just video editing in general, I highly recommend investing into a pair of really nice headphones eventually. I don't have any complaints when it comes to the cable management. I think he did a pretty good job keeping everything organized underneath the desk. And finally, we got the PC that's powering it all. It's equipped with an Intel 10400F and a GTX 1070. Even though the setup is nicely executed, there's nothing really exciting about it that separates it from the rest of the crowd. However, for a 13-year-old, it's one hell of a setup with a solid foundation to improve upon. I can only imagine what the setup transformation would look like in the next 5 years or so. Thank you, William, for sharing this with us, and I'm looking forward to seeing you back on the show one day. Wrapping up the episode is our very first submission from a dentist. That's right, Zac is a dentist from British Columbia, Canada, and this is the setup that he uses to work from home. Okay, my editor is saying that I should read the setup's purpose real quick. Okay, we got gaming, editing 360 videos, which I'm not exactly sure what that means, modifying my patient's Invisalign treatment plans, I'll be specific, and listening to Tim Dillon scream at me in high fidelity audio. Who's Tim Dillon? Oh God, I'm probably gonna get roasted in the comment section for this. Oh, he's a comedian. Why haven't I heard of him? Anyways, the setup is built on a custom Home Depot butcher block, and it's been finished with Danish oil and sealed with 3 coats of Waterlock and finally polished to 2000 grit. That is one good looking tabletop if I say so myself. It's also very deep. He has so much extra space to work with. I love the distance between the monitor and the edge of the desk. Wireless peripherals also seem to be a common theme in minimal setups. We got a wireless RK61 paired with a Logitech G703 Lightspeed. For audio, Zac did not cheap out. He went with the KEF LS50 studio monitors, but switches to the Arctis Pros for gaming. Speaking of which, he games and listens to Tim Dillon screaming at him on his custom water-cooled PC that he built inside the O11 Mini. We got a Ryzen 7 5800X paired with an RTX 2080 Ti. It's a nice build, but there's some questionable choices, no doubt. Like, why did you go with a copper GPU block instead of nickel? And what's up with the bizarre fan configuration? Why do you have exhaust fans on the bottom and intake on the top? The case is going to fight for airflow since all the hot air is going to eventually rise. Also, you did a full custom loop, but you decided to stick with the stock cables. Why didn't you spend an extra $25 and go with cable extensions from Amazon? They're super cheap. Surely that isn't a problem considering you can afford $2,000 speakers, right? It just seems like you cut a lot of corners with the PC, and as a result, it overshadows the effort you put into the rest of the setup, especially since you've done such a good job. With that said, I do love the effort you put into the wall. It looks like this was white before, so you painted it and you took advantage of the very little space it offers by decorating it with wall shelves and plants. I would have loved to see the same effort put into the custom PC, but it's only a minor detail in an otherwise very impressive setup. As always, guys, let me know in the comment section which of these setups was your absolute favorite. If you want to see more minimal setups like this on the show, consider tossing a like and subscribe if you're new here, because I do host Setup Wars every other Monday. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon in the next one. Recording audio 3, 2, 1 for episode 3, 2, 1. Hey! Oh.